This is the InMotion V11. If you're new to Electric Unicycle, it may be the best premium entry wheel you can possibly get.
But wait, you just got this wheel and you haven't even properly reviewed it, so how are you able to say that?
Well, because I'm not talking about how it performs, but rather how it's positioned as compared to all the other revolutionary wheels that has been released so far this year.
The review will come once I have more time on it, but this week, 5 reasons on why the InMotion V11 should be the top of your list if you're looking for your very first EUC. And I'm gonna slip the unboxing in there as well. Roll the intro. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe and hit that bell icon to be notified of new videos, and stay till the end for a preview of what's coming up next.
By the way, this production copy of the V11 was provided by InMotion with the assistance of Yuko for review purposes. But as always, opinion expressed is purely my own.
Up until quite recently, Electric Unicycle were mostly pretty homogeneous. It's probably a shocking thing to say to the enthusiasts who endlessly obsess over the smallest details, but previously Electric Unicycles were primarily differentiated by tire size, specification, and that's about it. But 2020 was a year when all of that changed. Not only do we have an unusually large amount of wheel releases this year, 5 instead of the 2 we saw from last year, for the first time we have segmentation, as in different class of wheels. They're the EUCs equipped with suspension, an innovation introduced this year, including the yet-to-be-released EX from Galway, and then there are the high-speed performance wheels, the most well-known of which is the veteran Sherman, the fastest production EUC currently available with a top speed of 50+ miles per hour. There are, of course, the yet-to-be-released Monster Pro, which may yet challenge Sherman for that title. However, given the unprecedented 24-inch wheel size, there aren't exactly direct competitors either. So where does the V11 fit in amongst these 5 radically different wheels?
You get a hint of its place simply by looking at the box it comes in. If you're new, this probably looks perfectly normal to you. After all, you just spent $2,000 on a wheel and you expect, like any other similarly priced electronic gadget, that it comes in a handsome packaging. But let me just say that this is absolutely not the norm when it comes to EUC unboxing experience. When I paid $2,800 for my Galway Monster V3, it came in a plain brown cardboard box, no manual, warranty, not even a QC slip. All it came with was the wheel, charger, and a bit of a padding, but I was glad simply because that it arrived in working order. Considering that 1 out of the 3 wheels shipped in the group I that was part of burned up during the shipping process, it was a real concern. Because EUC is such a bleeding edge niche, we all accept some roughness. The V11, on the other hand, was a departure from that old paradigm. It took 2 years for InMotion to develop this wheel, twice as long as the typical R&D cycle, which means that they have a lot more riding on its success. But it also means an extra level of care and attention, and the packaging only begins to tell the story. And refinement is reason number 1 on why you should consider the InMotion V11. And it comes with manual, warranty, and a bunch of tools. Again, you don't have to have them, but it's certainly nice that you get things like this. Which is even more evident once you have the chance to take a good look at the wheel itself. As much as I am excited by the Hsiang S18, the V11 feel much more refined, both in terms of detailing, little things like this nicely sculpted solid aluminum cap for the suspension air inlet, to the ergonomic trolley handle release. There is a kickstand and mud flap, simple and obvious additions that is somehow still missing from a lot of other EUCs. that refinement also extends to the integration of all its components. The battery pack is recessed into the wheel well, which is part of the reason why they're able to create such an incredibly thin profile for this wheel, despite the integration of a suspension system.
The control board is located on top, better for cooling and to keep away from surface water and dust kicked up during active riding. It's a configuration most other EUC manufacturers have begun to adapt for their latest releases as well.
Which lead to reason 2. I think this is the most complete electric unicycle on the market.
There is the best-in-class headlights and tail light, a smart battery management system that helps monitor and prevent battery fire, something you definitely want to avoid, an industry-first hollow core motor that improves motor mount rigidity and wire management, an IP55 rating to ensure water tightness if you happen to be riding during a rainstorm.
The V11 checked more boxes than any other electric unicycle on the market currently. However, it is a transport after all, so what about its performances? Alright, enough talk. It's time to give this thing a whirl. The first thing you notice is how high the pedals are. It sort of reminds me of when I first tried to ride the Hsiang 16X. Coming from the Z10, which had a 4-inch high pedal, the 7-inch high 16X felt really tall by comparison. The V11, on the other hand, is 10 inches tall. It feels like I'm still on these things. The pedal elevation in relationship to where your axle is also very different compared to most other electric unicycle I've ridden in the past. Oh, this is so weird. So I'm not used to the feeling of the wheel and the axle floating. At the lower shock chamber, set at 150 psi, which is on the high side. Let's see if I can. See, despite the fact that it's very tall, I feel surprisingly nimble with it. Like, I have no problem making that U-turn just now. I'm so used to having to cushion against irregularities. It's so weird not having to do it. Let's see how the grass feels. Riding on the grass used to be like really tricky because you have to see the bump in order to cushion yourself appropriately for it. This made grass riding so much more palatable.
The 3 electric unicycle manufacturers had all largely been defined by their philosophy as to what a reasonable safe speed are. The InMotion V10F, the V11's predecessor, maxed out at 25 miles per hour. The Hsiang 18XL, 31, and Gotway 40 plus somewhere up there. InMotion, the largest of the 3 companies, had traditionally been the most conservative, but with the V11, they had made a surprising shift. The V11 tops out at 35 miles per hour.
You only get the boost when you have more than 80% battery, and below that you're capped at 31 miles per hour, I believe down to 30%, which isn't bad. However, it is still a huge improvement on their previous speed limit, which was like 25 miles per hour.
Keep in mind that those are speeds you should absolutely avoid until you build up some solid EUC riding experiences. But for a $2,000 purchase, it's nice to know that if you're interested in dipping your toe into the higher top speed round of performance electric unicycle riding, you have the opportunity to do so on this wheel.
By the way, the 34 miles per hour top speed had not been unlocked in the app just yet, and it is still in the works from what I've been told. Not that I'm ready to hit the top speed just yet, since I'm still acclimating to this wheel. Even though it's not a big bump, I was happy with InMotion with their willingness to up the maximum speed, since when the wheel was first announced, they had capped it at 31 miles per hour. And after the initial introduction, there were a flood of comments from enthusiasts, one of which was the expressed desire for greater speed. And again, I understand that being a larger company, they tend to err on the side of cautions. So, very happy with the fact that they're willing to listen. And the max speed wasn't the only update they had made to the V11 since its introduction. They also made a slew of other little changes in response to other comments, such as increasing the pedal height, as well as tilting them slightly inboard so that you can better brace your leg against the wheel body.
and make your ride a bit more stable. Speaking of which, we come to the headline feature of the V11. This was something I always wanted to see on an electric unicycle, but did not think was possible with the limited amount of resources that the EUC company had to work with, given how small our niche and market is. I was surprised at the announcement of the V11, and was even more surprised when two other suspension wheels was announced soon after, the Hsiang S18 and the Gawei EX. Of the three suspension wheels, InMotion went with the most conservative approach of keeping most of the wheel assembly in one cohesive unit and on the unsprung side of suspension while cushioning the pedal and the rider on the sprung side only. This approach theoretically reduced the overall effectiveness of the suspension system, however it does have the advantage of significantly reduce the mechanical complexity of the design of the wheel itself, which is part of the reason why they're able to keep the wheels so thin while still accommodating the installation of more batteries, which directly translate to more range and a slightly improved performance as compared to the Hsiang S18. Considering that suspension is bleeding edge tech in an already bleeding edge niche, and the fact that $2,000 don't exactly come easily, it doesn't hurt to err on the side of caution. And if you agree with the sentiment, then the V11 is likely your wheel. And although I said that the V11 suspension tech veer on the conservative side, it is still a huge improvement on electric unicycle that have none. Now, some of the more hardcore riders are still skeptical of the value that adding suspension will bring, and until the release of Gawei EX, the only suspension wheel capable of 40 plus miles per hour top speed, none of them would even consider switching anyway. But suspension isn't just a matter of ride comfort either. Before we get into greater detail, let's take a look at how the suspension system actually works on the V11. The actual air shock, the paraffin that is located behind the pedal hanger, and there's a total of 4 nozzles, 2 each, allow you to adjust the pressure inside of the shock so that you can customize their performance to your weight and ride preferences. The fill nozzle for the 2 positive chamber is located below behind these 2 red cap, while the nozzle for the 2 negative chamber, which control rebound pressure, is actually behind the saddle piece, which unfortunately would require that you remove this whole assembly. There's a total of 4 screws, 1 front and 1 back for each side, and then there's 2 more right here. And it is something that you will have to do since all the chamber comes empty for shipping purposes. So a bit more prep to get you up and going on day 1. Suspension isn't just about ride comfort. As much as you can cushion the ride by bending your knees on a non-suspension wheel, you can never react as quickly as a mechanical suspension system can to follow the surface condition. And as a result, you get a lot more bounce. And every single second that your wheels spend in the air and not in direct contact with whatever surfaces that you're actually riding on directly translate to a loss of traction and control, which is the #1 cause for a crash on an electric unicycle. This is why I think suspension is important, since it helps with safety as much as improved ride comfort. By the way, just so you know, my recommendation for anyone getting a Gawei wheel is to open it up and check to make sure that all the screws are tight and none of the wires are pinched. Which brings us to reason 5, reliability. If you just want to buy an EUC and ride and not bother having to worry about having to check and fix build quality issues, then again, V11 is likely the better choice, since InMotion wheels definitely have a much better reputation when it comes to quality controls. And that is the impression one gets of the InMotion V11. It isn't just about one thing. It is neither the fastest wheel available, nor does it have the best suspension system, but this is a wheel that does many, many little things right, and altogether make a rather compelling case to what an electric unicycle really should be all about. And in the next video, we shall put it to the test and see whether or not it will be able to live up to all of its promises. And of course, how it compares to its main rival, the Hsiang S18. Oh man, look at the time. I somehow managed to waste another 10 minutes of your life, but I hope you enjoy it. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and check out the link to my Patreon page if you'd like to support my work. And as much as we all love Electric Unicycle, the only way for us to get better wheel is to grow as a community. So tell your friends, teach them how to ride, and get them hooked. Until the next episode, thank you.